Through early morning fog I see visions of the things to be. And those things today are updates on everyone's favorite captains and majors and corporals. Oh my. Welcome to basic training, maggot. Whew, I'm so sorry, that was very rude of me. How about just welcome? I'm your host, Nostalgic Nick from Do You Remember? And today, we're catching up with the actors who brought to life a little hospital unit in Korea, and out of it created unity and laughter for a nation. MASH ran for a whopping 11 seasons. It quickly became the gold standard for television programming back in the 70s and into the 80s, and spurred on 3 spin-off shows, Trapper MD, After MASH, and Walter. Much of the credit goes to the incredible cast of actors, who, led by Alan Alda, grabbed a nation's attention for over a decade. And when the journey finally ended, we all watched. So let's revisit those very actors and see what led them to MASH and what some of them did after hanging up their dog tags for good. Alan Alda, Captain Hawkeye Pierce.
I happen to be an officer only because I foolishly opened an invitation from President Truman to come to this costume party.
Alan was kind of the spine of MASH, being the lead actor, but that was just part of the equation, as he often wrote and directed episodes for the acclaimed series. This includes the movie-length finale that shattered the record books with 121 million viewers. Alda actually directed 31 episodes of MASH, the first coming in season 2 with Mail Call. Alan wrote and directed 3 movies after honing his craft on that Army surgical base in Korea. He completed Sweet Liberty in 1986, starring he and Michael Caine. 2 years later, he completed A New Life, starring himself, Hal Linden, and Anne Margaret.
A New Life, written and directed by Alan Alda.
You never ever wanted to just cuddle.
I hate that word! I hate it!
And then in 1990, he would direct his final picture, Betsy's Wedding, co-starring alongside Joey Bishop and Madeline Kahn. He would continue acting alongside Hollywood elite for as long as he desired, from successful Woody Allen flicks like Crimes and Misdemeanors to blockbusters like The Aviator. Allen's done it all. One of my personal favorites is his stint on The West Wing as Senator Arnold Vinnick. And more recently, Alda has been in several episodes of Ray Donovan. Sadly, he is battling Parkinson's disease, but he is doing his best to duke it out. You can also check out Alan's podcast, Clear and Vivid. Did you know he was the only man who was in both the first episode and the finale? Loretta Swit, Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan. Yep, the only other actor from MASH who was in both the first episode and the final chapter of this fantastic series.
Discipline, adherence to regulations, a taut ship. I love tautness.
She was so dynamic that showrunners tweaked the character to fit her wishes. Swit naturally wanted Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan to grow during the course of the show, away from a promiscuous, shrill one to a tough, independent role model type. And by the end of the show, they even stopped calling her Hot Lips. Swit actually tried to quit the show during the 10th season because she was up for Detective Cagney in, you guessed it, Starsky and Hutch. I'm so sorry, Cagney and Lacey. Unfortunately, contracts and studios rarely give up control, and CBS didn't shock us here and refused to allow the show swap. Loretta did wind up playing Cagney in the TV movie pilot, which received great reviews and ratings. Unfortunately, the studios held firm. Loretta doesn't need much sympathy, as she did continue to work in TV movies and guest spots on shows through the 80s and much of the 90s, though she never did strike gold again. She seemed to have stopped acting in 1998 with a final role in Beach Movie, but 2 decades later in 2019, she dusted off her scripts and played Mrs. Kincaid in Play the Flute. Yes, it's an almost entirely unknown Christian music-based movie, but we're sure glad to see Loretta is still being a great role model. Jamie Farr, Corporal Maxwell Klinger.
Hey, Mike. I've been trying for so long. I want to thank the Academy, my public. I love you all.
The gender-bending Klinger could have been played by no other man in my opinion. Jamie Farr was undeniably Klinger, and it proves audience thought that way as well, because Farr was originally only supposed to be in 1 episode, but popularity on set and with audiences made him stick around. I can't imagine those other 215 episodes without Jamie. Similarly to Swit, Farr decided to tweak his character as the years ticked by, choosing to phase out the gender-bending aspect of Klinger out of respect to his family. He was worried his young children at the time would be teased at school. After MASH ended, Jamie Farr quickly jumped onto the big screen with a role in the star-studded Cannonball Run 2 as the Sheik.
But Lion of the Deserts, King of Kings, Pop. No!
He was also one of the main 3 characters who wished the show would continue and carried on their military duties to After MASH, the spin-off that followed Klinger, Colonel Potter, and Father Mulcahy to a veterans hospital. Most recently in 2018, you could see Jamie along with a whole slew of other stars from the past in The Cool Kids, a retirement center comedy starring David Alan Grier and Vicki Lawrence. William Christopher, Father Francis Mulcahy. William was booking constant television work before MASH. He was in both Hogan's Heroes as several characters, but really landed a regular spot on Gomer Pyle as Lester Hummel. When auditioning for his MASH role, Christopher essentially ignored the prepared script entirely, instead ad-libbing a rambling speech in his iconic priestly tone.
For that pat on the back, he created us so he could be here himself.
They really liked his performance and demeanor well enough to offer him the role on one condition, that he would try to stay to the script. Christopher, like Klinger, starred in After MASH, and then voiced Angel Smurf for the Smurfs 1984 series. Christopher definitely suffered from typecast stigma as he played Father Tobias in 11 episodes of Days of Our Lives in 2012. His final work before his death, Christopher passed away in 2016 from carcinoma. Harry Morgan, Colonel Sherman T. Potter. Before MASH, Harry Morgan was already a prolific actor who had primarily been known for his work in dramatic roles. When Morgan was originally cast in his guest role in the season 3 opening episode, cast members were unsure about his role in such a heavily comedic show. Almost immediately into filming, the cast was won over by Morgan's comedic acting chops.
There are no atheists in foxholes.
I've heard that.
I like to see a shine on that cross, Father.
And it's no secret why. His guest spot as Major Steele was so successful that when McLean Stevenson left the show, producers decided to bring back Harry Morgan to fulfill the surrogate parent role, where he would remain in the cast until the show's conclusion. In an interview, Harry Morgan said that he had wanted to play Colonel Potter forever, and boy did we agree. After the farewell, Morgan joined Farr and Christopher in After MASH, then co-starred with Hal Linden, who was fresh off the success of Barney Miller, as they looked for some magic in their show, Black's Magic. Yeah, a magician and his con man father solving mysteries unfortunately did not gain steam, and it was a bust. Harry was terrific in Dragnet, and in 1997 he completed his final reoccurring role on a TV series as Professor Suitor on Third Rock from the Sun. Morgan died peacefully in his sleep at an impressive 96 years old in 2011. Gary Burghoff, Corporal Radar O-Reilly.
Why, radar?
Oh, well, sometimes I can tell what's going to happen before it happens.
The laughable Corporal Radar O-Reilly was played by Gary Burghoff in both the original film production and the television series. He was the only lead actor to do both, and therefore the first actor that was cast for the TV rendition. His character Radar on MASH, who showed a fondness for the care of animals, was actually inspired by Gary's true love for wildlife. He once worked for the Animal Rehabilitation Clinic in Southern California. Radar left MASH after contract disputes, and never again reached the heights that Radar provided. But he moved on. He recorded a jazz album in the 1980s and continues to write music. He visited and fished in every state and is an inventor who holds several patents for fishing tackle, including Chum Magic, a floating device that can be filled with chum to attract fish. Gary's final acting credit was in 2010 for the movie Daniel's Lot.
Did you hear that voice?
Boy. Son, I just walked up as you were coming out.
Mike Farrell, Captain B.J. Hunnicutt. Mike Farrell is best friends with Alan Alda and no stranger to Hollywood stars. Farrell was one heck of a Captain Hunnicutt and such a great counterpart to Alda. It was even Alda's idea for him to grow a mustache in the 7th season, which he kept for the rest of the show's run. So what's the Captain up to now? Well, in 1986, Farrell starred alongside Margot Kidder and Fred Gwynne in Vanishing Act. He also took a role as a veterinarian in the series Providence. Farrell also formed his own production company, which created the Robin Williams-led Patch Adams in 1998. Based on Mike's own acquaintance with the Doctor. As of today, he's become a figure in politics, most notably his stance against the Iraq War and the death penalty in California. Kellye Nakahara, Lieutenant Kellye Yamato.
You look very Japanese, Major. Do you speak the language?
Of course not.
Ma, anato kashikaku shiteru.
How could we forget Nurse Kellye, appearing in 167 episodes, always rolling with the punches, lighthearted and serious. The part Hawaiian and Chinese lieutenant always held her own on the screen. She most notably went on to play the cook in the movie Clue, and she made an appearance in Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Kellye died of cancer in February 2020 at the age of 73. Larry Linville, Major Frank Burns. High-strung and overly confident in his surgical skills, Burns was a staple on the show for 5 seasons before feeling stifled in the role and deciding to depart. Over the next 3 decades, Larry worked in TV consistently, on NBC's Grandpa Goes to Washington in 1979, and then in 1981, he was on a short-lived spin-off of The Jeffersons titled Checking In. Larry hit the big screen too, with roles in Earth Girls Are Easy in '88 and 1991's Rock and Roll High School Forever, which, if you haven't seen, Corey Feldman leads a rock and roll rally that Principal Major Frank Burns has to deal with. And yeah, it's a fun bad movie. David Ogden Stiers, Major Charles Winchester III.
Your hand may be stilled, but your gift cannot be silenced if you refuse to let it be.
With his discerning Boston accent, and David being from Illinois meant he was the only cast member to use an accent. David was very active after MASH. He starred in the popular CBS miniseries North and South and its sequel, Book 2. David really found success with voice acting, completing 66 episodes of Lilo and Stitch the series, roles in Pocahontas and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and then his main feather in his cap, in 1991, David starred as both Cogsworth and the narrator in Disney's smash hit Beauty and the Beast. Outside of acting, David was a talented conductor and served as a resident conductor for an orchestra in Newport, Oregon. Sadly, he passed away from bladder cancer in March of 2018. Wow, what a cast. The cast of MASH will go down as the top ensemble in television history. Who is your favorite character from MASH? Do you have a favorite episode? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this video, it would mean the world to us if you would click the thumbs up button. And please subscribe to our channel by clicking the red subscribe button. From all of us at Do You Remember, goodbye, farewell, and amen.